Yo, what's good, travel fan? It's your boy JV. Welcome to the Travel People Podcast, your all access pass to crazy trips that we're going to talk about, travel hacks that I'm pulling out of my sleeves, and adventure that'll level up that vibe on the gram. I'm JV, your guide to everything from hidden gems to that Insta worthy selfie. So grab your bag, sip your coffee, stop scrolling, let's roll. This adventure is taking off. Hey everybody, it's JV here with the Travel People Podcast, and I am so excited to have my good friend Matt Gleaves, the great Matt Gleaves from Indiana, I should say. When I introduce him to everyone, that's actually how I introduce. I say, "Hey, I have a great friend. His name is Matt, and he's from Indiana." And it usually drives the conversation further after that. Oh, what's so great about him? And I'll say, Confined Space Coffee. So, with no further ado, what's going on, Matt?
I love that. What's so great about them? Because I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we all do know. Those of us who have tried the coffee is great. And for
Oh
our
yeah.
viewers and listeners, Confined Space Coffee is an official sponsor of this broadcast. And we have the pleasure of talking to Matt about Confined Space Coffee today, his travels and his life and journey, both in Carolina Outposts and in Alaska. More about that. But Matt, tell us a little about who you are. Where did who is Little Matt? Where was Little Matt from?
Little Matt is direct response from working in Alaska so much. No, so you can cut that. Uh,
No, no, we're not.
yeah.
No, I'm just
Thank
teasing. I'm
you.
teasing. I'm teasing.
So I grew up in Dallas, Texas. Went to undergraduate school in Abilene, Texas. Um, 4 years undergraduate, 2 years grad school. Moved to Kansas, of all places, in 1995, and worked with a group with Kansas State University called Cats for Christ. Did that for a couple years, and then quickly found my way into construction of all things. So in that regard, found out I was pretty good with my hands, so started doing some handiwork, and then moved from handyman work to residential to commercial, and then in 2007, 2008, when the market went south, I headed north up to Alaska. Took a call from the Union Hall to go to Fairbanks and began a 7 season career change of working in the lower 48 to working up in Alaska. So
So we'll get a little bit into that um, about Alaska in a second. What I want to know is, so you went through this journey, college bound. You had this career path in mind, and you were like, oh, at the age of whatever dot dot dot, I'm going to become a coffee connoisseur. What the heck?
okay, so let's do some confessions right now. Um, I never liked coffee. Never wanted to have coffee. My
What?
mom, my mom would have coffee breath. So as a kid, I was like, oh my goodness, that's what coffee. I mean, no. And so then when I got in construction, you see these old geezers drinking coffee like it was. I mean, they would be out in the middle of the summertime drinking hot coffee. Did not make sense. So it wasn't until I started working in Alaska in 2008 that I started drinking coffee because there's only so much hot chocolate you can drink in the Arctic Circle without having your man card requested.
That's great. I'm actually
So,
drinking half hot cocoa, half coffee right now. So
whoa,
yeah, yeah, it's a good combo. It actually
okay.
enhances the flavors. As a matter of fact, I wanted to shout out. I have for our viewing purposes. Here's one of my favorites right here, guys.
Yeah,
Right
that's
here.
good.
All
That's a
right.
single source Guatemalan bean. It's really smooth.
So what led you to, so you became, you know, obviously by proxy, a coffee drinker. And eventually in life, it was a casual engagement that most of us do in the morning. And we drink our coffee, and it becomes a routine because it sends us somewhere very private. No, I'm just teasing. It sends us somewhere for sure.
Yeah, you have to rid yourself of your confined spaces.
Yes.
Um, I think what's interesting is one thing I've discovered, because again, do we need another coffee brand? Do we need another coffee out there? There's so many of them, and they're so good. I've really, I mean, I went from drinking really bad construction coffee where there's not enough sugar and creamer in the world to make it taste good to,
Poachers.
oh yeah, to getting to the point to where I'm saying, oh wow, I am not a coffee snob, but our coffee's good stuff. And it's, it's specialty grade coffee. So I think the lowest one we have is an 83%, which is pretty good. So it puts us in the top 8% of the world. Um, so I get to do what I'm doing right now with really good coffee. But it took me a long time to change that. And I was working in construction. And about 4 years ago, we had an event with Mission Uprising, a group here in Indiana that Juan, you're very familiar with.
I
And
am.
this we did a thing called Brews, Briskets, and Bros.
I like the bros part. Anything with
Yeah.
bros, I'm down with.
So we're like, wait, we're gonna have beer on Saturday? Like, it was really weird because it was a Saturday event, and they're like, no, we're gonna have coffee. So that's the brew. Briskets, we're gonna spend all day learning how to make a brisket. We're gonna do whittling. We're gonna do practical, tactical things. And I really thought, oh, that's okay. It sounds really good. In doing that, two of the young men in our team, Nathan Davis and Brian Hensler, shout out. We're talking about seeing coffee as a form of worship, and I was like, "Well, now, wait, what? Like, okay, I need you to say more about that because I've never heard that before." So they said, "Yeah, we see it as an act of slowing down, engaging, taking a moment to pause and reflect." And then they start talking about they did pour overs. They did 4 pour overs. And sorry for my headset. I'm rocking my old Xbox headset because my microphone is not working. It's crazy. Uh, so they did 4 pour overs. First of all, they did like Folgers, and they did I forgot which one it was. And they did Starbucks, and they did another one. And the fourth one they did was a Colombian single source blend that was specialty grade. And they knew the guy who had grew it. They knew the guy who had harvested it. They had the whole backstory on this man from Colombia. And you could taste pour over the same process, different coffee beans. You could taste Folgers. Folgers is Folgers. It's never really changed. It's my mom's favorite, second favorite now. It's the decaf on Confined Space Coffee. But the each one was, and you could taste what was burnt, which I won't name which company was burnt, but you could taste which one was which. And when it got to the fourth one from Colombia, the tastes were fruity, and I didn't know if I liked it or not, but there was really a difference. And so I became curious about, okay, what am I doing in my everyday life that I am running so fast? I'm just consuming, and I'm not
Mm,
slowing down enough to really appreciate or engage with, or really
that's
decide if
really
I
good.
like it or not.
That's really good. And just to preface, what he meant to say, the Bucks. I mean the burnt Bucks. Oh no, we can't say it yet. But you know what I like about what you said, Matt, is because you and I had a conversation recently about this, and my wife and we've made it part of our ritual.
Mm,
And for a lot of couples, that's probably one of the primary times of the day that they're going to see each other is around the coffee maker.
mhm,
Maybe we're off to work, or they're off to work, or both of us, and there's not a lot of conversation that happens during the day with our spouses. I mean, technology, granted, with text messaging, but some of us work in confined fields that don't allow us to really engage with our beauties on a day to day. So I know for me, what it's done is open up an opportunity to have those small conversations or maybe be more sensual, leading up to the evening, right? Because it's all about baby steps and or finding a way to crack that code. Maybe we've been in a bad spell, and maybe a little froth on top of that coffee changes the conversation with a smile, and so I think it's important. And then the other aspect is for a lot of guys who are maybe not engaged or single or living alone or maybe doing their own thing, it's part of a devotional. Sometimes when Evelise is not here, what I'll do is I'll have that opportunity to, while the coffee's making, while it's grinding, while I'm making my froth, I'm reading my devotional. And it is so enlightening because I know that there's a purpose behind the coffee. I'm going to enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But also, it opens up my heart to saying, you know what? Maybe I'm going to take upon this day and not look at it as, oh my gosh, what another drag. No, I'm going to look at it as, wow, what an opportunity to get up and breathe again and do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and so everyone has a ritual with caffeine of some sort throughout the day. Everyone does. Even if it's people who don't drink coffee, they still love the smell of it. I think if you did
Yeah.
a poll, it was a high 90% that most people they don't drink it, they still like the smell of it. So what I started realizing was everywhere outside the United States, coffee is a moment to sit down, pause, and connect.
Hmm.
And so in the United States, it's all about a caffeine conduit. We just want to get it and go and run and not engage. So years ago, when after this thing happened with these two young men, it was like the following week I was on a job site drinking bad construction coffee, and I was like, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And so I called these two guys up and said, "You ruined me. You ruined me." And not that I was getting to be a coffee snob, but I was thinking about what I was consuming, slowing down enough to think about and consider what I was taking in. So I went back to our office and I told the president of our company, I'm like, hey, I'm getting a grinder. We're going to start grinding beans. And so I started ordering beans and just started grinding it. And so the next 2 years, I started just doing that, making it a ritual at my office. And it was fine. And people were like, oh, yeah, Matt's coffee's the best. And these are people who don't even drink coffee. It was, we weren't even roasting coffee yet. It was just drinking coffee. But they
Just
saw a
drinking it.
value. Yeah, but they saw a value in slowing down and connecting.
Yeah.
So and it didn't matter your background, didn't matter what everything you could relate to a cup of coffee. Just
I like
just
that. I like that a lot. Years ago, I guess our parents, or at least, some of us were born before the dinosaurs. Sorry, but I'm just teasing.
I don't know who you're talking about.
But the water cooler days, right? That was an opportunity to get the news, all that stuff. We don't do that. We don't engage. We're so busy. Everybody's got a busy life. I swear to I can't imagine that everyone is this busy in life. I mean, even I met a barista, well, a bartender, um, and he was like, "Oh, I'm always so busy." I'm saying to myself, "Dude, you're just serving beer." And I felt bad because I was diminishing
Just
his
serving
craft,
beer.
right? But still, like, come on, man, you ain't got time
Yeah.
for, but we're all so busy and consumed, and we're not busy at all. We're consumed by our devices. We're consumed by our
Yes.
vice, not just devices, but vices. You ever wonder why the word vice is in device? It's
Come
insidious.
on.
Yeah,
Come
yeah, no,
on.
seriously, it it is something that most of us don't dare to talk about, and it's devious, right? There you go with another
Yeah.
word that is insidiously inserted there. It was purposely programmed, and it all programs, it's reprogramming us, the way we look at things, the way we interact with people, the way we socialize in life. We're supposed to be bound by certain rules or ideologies, and I remember a time where my dad, who is a Republican, he could sit around all of my mom's friends who were Democrats and didn't give a hoot. They loved each other, they laughed, they played
Yep.
cards. At the time, everybody smoked cigarettes. Shame on you. But still, it's so inconceivable. I have some really cool friends here in the
Thank you.
Carolinas.
Oh, and Indiana too.
Shout out, you know what? Shout out to Bill up there as well. I miss him
Oh
dearly.
man. Hey Steph. Hey Mitch.
Oh, I had to
I
do it. I
see
had to
how it
do it.
is. I see how it
Um,
is.
but no, it's just so interesting because these two individuals, I'll remain nameless. My wife will know. We call each other the three amigos, and we're like three different generations. Actually, when we travel together, I'm like, that's my dad. They get so mad at that one. Um, but they have their own real strong opinions about, when it comes to anything, whether it's food or politics or religion. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's your thing, like that shouldn't affect me. But the coffee or coffee itself, um, it's a framework for a cure in our society. It's a metaphor for what we need. We always lean towards the elixir, what the spirits bring from the alcohol. But I think there's more to be told of an individual that has a great time and engages in a coffee shop. Some of the best conversations I've had were in coffee shops, not at bars, because I don't remember any of them. At least at a coffee shop, I knew that I either made a deal for maybe my business or found out some really important news that might have been important for the individual. Maybe, the kid won a tournament or something, and that was important for them. Whatever it is, coffee is the cure. But I could talk about coffee this entire episode.
Well, but
But I,
what you're saying is so important though, because the where coffee confined space coffee, the idea came to be was on a job site. And I got asked to come out of the office. Um, I wore a lot of hats in the company I was working for, Maddox Industrial Group. They're still good customers of mine. And still got a great friendship with them. But I came out and I was running a rescue team on a night shift. And when I got there, my counterpart, also one of my co-founders, Brad McMahon, said, "Hey, you're gonna thank me later." I put a coffee pot in the rescue trailer. I'm like, "You're a genius, yes!" And I'm working on night shift. Yes, sir. Thank you. And so it was about midnight. We're still waiting on permits. If you've ever worked an industrial job, you know permits don't come quickly. And so I'm down below, and a guy walks by my trailer. And goes, "Is that coffee?" I'm like, "Yeah, you want some? Sure." And so he steps into my trailer, and I'm pouring him coffee, and we just sit down inside the trailer. And if you've ever done any training with anyone, let alone action-oriented construction workers, who sitting down and listening is like pulling teeth. And so they sit there, and he's like, "What's that?" "Oh, that's my harness." "No, no, what's that in front of the harness?" "It's called a cow's tail." "Well, no, what's that hanging off the harness?" "Oh, it's called a piercing." And they're like, "Now what?" And you start explaining these things. Next thing I know, 2 hours have passed. We get our permits. We go 200 feet up in the air to start entering a confined space. And then he sticks his head up out of the hole and goes, "Hey, get one of those." I said, "Piercing?" "Yeah." He goes, "Can you make me one of those? I want to hang my tool off it." I'm like, "Absolutely, I'll make you one of those." So now 2 hours of just sitting down, having coffee, waiting for time to pass. Think about that. Waiting for time to pass led into organic training that was used the rest of the night. So when
wow.
we did a shift change the next morning. I told Brad, I said, "Hey, I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna go grab some donuts, be right back, and I'm gonna tell you the incredible thing that just happened." And so when you're a senior level leadership and you're trying to engage your customers and trying to gauge your workforce, I said, we just got to keep the coffee going. It created a conversation. So we made sure we had coffee in that trailer at all times. So if anyone would come by day, night, so this was supposed to be an 8-day, 10-day, 12-hour day job. It turned into 4.5 weeks of 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So all those type of jobs, you can get injured easily. People begin to get tired. They develop fatigue. Their morale goes down. About 2 weeks after that job, the president, the owner of the company, gets an email saying, "Hey, this is a national and international client that we're serving out in Salt Lake City, Utah, actually Magna, Utah." And they said, "Hey, we're not sure what happened, but on this job, we've had the least number of incidences we've ever had. We've had a really high level of morale. This job went very well, textbook. We appreciate that." And Brad and I looked at each other and said, "It's got to be the coffee."
It definitely
Because,
is.
yeah, because the point was we were slowing down. And that's when we started joking around. We just need to make our own coffee, call it Confined Space Coffee.
Right.
And so we joked about that for 2 years until I felt led to lead my company, the one I was with as a senior level individual, and to leave that company to go a direction where God's leading. And they're like, my buddies and you yourself were like, "Wait, you just did what? You just quit your job?" I'm like, "Well, yes, kind of.
Yeah.
It's taken me a year to discern that what asked me and what he's wanting me to do." They're like, "What are you going to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, but we've been joking about Confined Space Coffee. I think we're going to do that." And then I'll build it up, turn around, and sell it, pay off my Tundra that I just bought, and
Yeah.
see what God has in store. Next thing I know, it's like God's like, "Oh no, hold on. Breathe, Matt, because this is what
Yeah.
I want you to do." And I'm like, "Oh, do we need another coffee brand? Do we need it? Do we need?" And and, and again, here, I mean, okay. Full disclosure, the first time I ever made coffee, I was on a construction job site. I was on a military base at Fort Riley, and I got early, and I thought,
Kansas
"Oh,
or Riley.
yeah, Kansas, Fort Riley, Kansas." Thank you. Good eye. And I walk up. I'm like, "Oh, I'm here early. You know what? I'm going to help the day get started. I'm going to make some coffee. I don't know how. I never made it before, but I'm going to make some coffee." So the foreman later on the day walks up to me and goes, "Did you make coffee this morning?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You're fired." It was terrible. That was terrible coffee. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I was just trying to be helpful and trying to be nice. So, full disclosure, I have come a long ways in the past 21 years of making coffee.
Well,
So,
you're not fired anymore. You're like hired. I've been giving away. So for some of you who have who will be viewing this, if you're around town and in my area here in the Carolinas, you've if you've talked to me, you've probably gotten one of these and begged me for more, and I'm like, dude, just scan the code and order. Um, so um, I love that you were bold. It reminds me of when I dove into my own business and
yeah,
told my wife, I said, "Yeah, this is what I'm going to do." She was like, "You sure you want to do that?" And I said, "No, but I'm going to do it because God said so." And here we are, three
here we
seasons of
are.
the podcast, and this year will be my fifth year in business. So, bam. Um, so, thank you. But, what's interesting is that the name, and we'll get to, Ezekiel in a second, but I wanna talk about Alaska because you talked about what God led you to do, and I think what occurred in Alaska, unbeknownst to you, was what God was leading you to do so that you can be in the right moment at the right time. So, when you went to Alaska and you decided to leave the lower 48 and I don't know, play Paul Bunyan or what is it? What's the right term? I don't know. I need help from Men at the Movies. Shout out to Men at the Movies. Paul McDonald. If you're not watching, you better be watching his show. Dang it. You better subscribe. Subscribe to this one too. Dang it. We need the viewership.
Subscribe and like, hit all the
Um,
buttons. Doesn't cost you a
yeah,
thing.
just hit the buttons, even if well, don't hit all the buttons. Sometimes those buttons take you to places that are too nefarious. So make sure you're hitting the right buttons. All right.
Yeah, don't hit those
Um,
buttons.
but Alaska, man, I talk to so many clients on a daily basis about Alaska, their dream journey, and then here you are. But before you tell people Alaska, I want you, and I was telling my producer this, Travis, off air before you came on. I said, you got to hear Matt's version of what he thought of me. And I want you to be fully honest and transparent, right? We're going to talk about Mission Uprising and Carolina Outpost. and which, by the way, is one of the best programs, and
Oh
it
yeah,
changed my life.
mine too.
Carolina Outposts is something that you and I have had. Um, I'm not going to cry, but it is one of those things that um, really you understand when your life changes. There's moments. Your kids being born, your marriage. There's pivots. There's those are waypoints, right?
Yeah.
Trail markers. And but this was more than just a trail marker. This hit my heart and opened up the conversation to say, yeah, you know what, God? It took me so many outposts, but I'm no longer arguing with you. Now I'm just, beating up a tree with a bat that Matt Gleaves got me. So
So
tell
wait,
us about your.
is that where you want to start at?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, no. I want you to start at um, who was the Juan Velasquez that you saw, and be very honest, be raw. We're guys
I
here.
I don't know how to do that, Juan. So here's the situation, man. So y- when I went the last, so we met at the first outpost I ever went to in 2016, and we were in the same cabin, and I just looked at you like, man, this guy's carrying some heavy stuff around. Like that's what I felt from day one. Never could put my finger on it, but I was like, okay, we weren't mean to each other. We just, I mean, at the time, I think there were 70 guys going to the outpost that weekend. Now there's 190 something and growing.
Wow.
And I tell people all the time, how often do you go spend a weekend with God and just open yourself up to, okay, are you real? Is this real? And if you're
Hmm.
real and is this real, oh, then what does that mean for me? So just a very high level. And so in what year did you come to the Indiana outpost?
So not last year, but the year before. So 2023.
Okay.
That sound
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I think so. So 2023, that spring, you and I were at the Carolina outpost, and you had a lot on your heart. You were being very vulnerable, very open. Like I don't know where God's leading me, and it was causing some angst in you. And I just really appreciated it. And there was a couple moments where I'm like, oh, we were all in trail guides, which we were leading other men's groups, and I made a couple comments, and it wrecked you, and you're like, whoa. So all of a sudden, I thought, oh, this guy I've known for 6 years at the time that we've never spoken to each other, all of a sudden is hearing something that I'm saying that's resonating with him. So there was a I'm always one when something resonates, I have two responses. One is I either step towards or I don't step back. I just hold my position because sometimes when somebody's resonating with something that's between them and God and not
Hmm.
something that I need to step into. So there have been lots of times where I've said something and you looked at me funny and I'm like,
Yeah.
because it's really a question you take to God or Father and not something that I can help you with. And that was one of those moments. And then by Sunday morning, you were sitting on the back row of the group that you're always sitting at in the main area. You and John Yaden, shout to John. And you're sitting back there. I just walked back there and sat next to you and put my arm around you. And no words were exchanged. Just I put my arm around you, you patted me on the knee, and we're like just brothers sitting there. We know each other for 6 years. And I just looked at you and said, hey, if you ever want to come to the Indiana outpost for a fresh perspective. I think that's all I said, really.
Hmm.
And then a few months later, you're like, hey, I'm coming to the Indiana outpost. I'm like, why? Like what happened? And you came and uh you were so I think you were looking for a change. You were ready for a different perspective. Because even I mean, Juan, you're a good guy. You're a really good guy. You're one of my brothers now. And
Appreciate that.
and we when we're walking together and talking, even if you're in multiple seasons, there's a phrase, it's an old Indian proverb that no man can enter the same river twice because the river changes and the man is not the same. So a lot of times we try to enter into the same moment and we can't. We can't ever go back and reclaim that moment. And I think that you were in one of those stuck moments. Like you're trying to replay this over and over and over again, and you realize that you just needed a different perspective, and realize that you're not in the same river. And I watched you, and even when I hugged you when we first got there, I'm like, "Why are you here?" Like, because you invited me. I was like, "Oh, okay, that's awesome, that's great." And we had an incredible weekend. It was an amazing weekend. And that was the at that point in time, we'd known each other for 7 years at that
Hmm.
outpost. And it was the first time we'd ever really sat and talked to each other.
That's
And
right.
it was like we knew each other our whole lives at that point. So it's it's interesting because when you take a moment to connect, this goes back to the Confined Space Coffee. It's not about the coffee. It's about the conversation. It's about the
Hmm.
connection. It's about slowing down. Now, granted, I get to do it with great coffee. I really enjoy that permit required, that dark roast, that single source Guatemalan bean. It's one of my favorite. My wife enjoys the Ethiopian or light roast, um, but
She,
it's
my beauty's favorite.
ooh, the decaf, the attendant friendly.
So she gave up drinking coffee for such a long time.
Really, I didn't know that.
And yeah, she was really engaged with something that she wanted to do differently in her life, and she wanted to fast from something. And for some time, she didn't just do that; she did alcohol as well. She gave up drinking carbonated drinks. Even now, we don't. We read all of our labels. Now we're doing this together for quite some time. We don't drink soda, anything that has processed foods or anything that's not natural. If it has more than five ingredients, no. If we can't make it at home, no. All the things, even changing cookware at home, everything to keep us sustained. Because I think it's important for us to recognize when we're wrecking our body. I used
Yeah,
to call myself a connoisseur of the spirits and beer, and I think what I was doing was more abusive, and I can say
mm,
that out loud. I'm not
yeah,
ashamed of that, because once I recognized that I had a problem, if I couldn't control it, then I knew that had an addiction. And thankfully, I was able to satisfy the knowing that I didn't have that bad of an approach, but it was enough to recognize that um, it wasn't the correct approach to finding answers and solace for some of the demons that I was living with. And, now I'm able to enjoy things like Bourbon Club. I can go once a month and, you know, have a half ounce while all the other guys are drinking all this bourbon and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. But just have a good time,
yeah,
rather than abusing it. And then the same thing with brews. Now I enjoy doing the show, sometimes in live settings, because I can get meet the brewmaster, the owners, their journey, their struggle, and how important the brand is to them, and really sit down and appreciate the beer now. Whereas in the past, I could remember telling you once or two stories at Outpost that, hey, I don't remember how I got home or whatever the case was with a story, but it just wasn't the real version of who I was, the true
yeah,
version. And it really wasn't what God was calling me. It was just a pose that I was putting up so that people can like me better or understand me differently. I don't know. Whatever it was just phony. And then I started recognizing that I can still be my sarcastic self, because that's who I genuinely feel comfortable being. I can still be loving to my wife. I can still be caring and have affirmation for my friends' endeavors and such, in a more constructive way. And it's led me to being more liberated, more free to tell people, yeah, I can go and do dot dot dot, knowing that I have God on my back. Someone
Yeah.
asked me recently, "Oh, how do you support a brand like Virgin Voyages?" And I'll pause. I'll take a playbook from a page out of the playbook from Matt Gleaves, and I'll pause because I'm always been quick to answer. And I'm like, "What do you know about Virgin Voyages that I don't know about? Please enlighten me." And a lot of times it's just the name or the perception. But one of the greatest things that I have as ammunition is knowing that I have God on my back and that He's protecting me through the entire process. And knowing that I have an opportunity to pivot, not just not just a brand's perspective, but the hearts of those who work in that brand. And that's where we have to start as men, as Christian men. And I believe that. I believe that what I do with my business at the Travel People LLC, doing business as cruise planners, our objective is to put a smile on everyone's face. All right. And this year, in addition to that, we've decided to partner up with a beautiful outreach program called the Santiago Strong Foundation. And I'll let my few viewers go on them. They've been a guest of ours, Eric and Cynthia, in the past, but that's where I've been led. And I've been led in a less orthodox way, in more of a confined way, because I haven't really revealed much to many people. I've kept myself refined and secluded. But again, the opportunity to express myself without having any animosity towards myself, because we beat ourselves up. And one of the mantras that you have, and I'll let you best describe it, about the brand, about the coffee, um, falls in line with mental health. So, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So one of the interesting things is when we started doing, when I said I don't know what I want to do with confined, but I'm going to do confined space coffee, and God's like, no, this is what I want you to do. A friend of mine that I was going to a small group with called Cigars and Jesus. His name is Caleb. He's a digital design guy. He came up with all of our design logos for our skull, and he's a former combat medic. And when he was telling us the story of he was in Afghanistan and he got blown up, and the other two guys in his vehicle did not make it, and his people come running over to him and say, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" And he gives them a thumbs up, and yeah, I'm good. They give him two trash bags and say, "Here, go pick up your other buddy's pieces and put them in the bag." And I was like, "Caleb, what'd you do?" He goes, I picked up the pieces. That was my job. I was a combat medic." And I said, "What did that do to you?" He goes, "It really messed me up." And so he came back from the war, um, searching for answers at the bottom of a bottle in many other ways. And he found his way back to God, which is, I mean, I praise God for that. And so when I told him, I said, "Look, one of the things I want to do, if we're going to do this, is that a portion of all of our proceeds go to those organizations or ministries who are helping people stuck in and trapped in confined spaces of the heart, mind, and body." And so in doing that, you're looking at sex trafficking, labor trafficking, mental health, suicide awareness,
Hmm.
PTSD. And when you realize what those organizations and those aspects are, people who are trapped in confined space of the mind, heart, and body, or the heart, mind, and body, they're everywhere. I've been trapped in those spots. One of the dumb things I do on social media, I did this video, besides me walking out of a Johnny on the spot asking if that's a confined space. No, but there's definitely hazards. Um, was I did a video of, you see an office and you hear me whispering, "Is an office cubicle a confined space?" And then I stand up and I said, "No, but it can feel like one."
It could feel
And then
like
I get
one,
back down. Yeah. And
yeah.
so the reality is you can have a corporation that's extremely profitable. You can have an organization that's killing all the metrics with employees who will never say a word, and they're just doing their dutiful job, but they're dying inside.
Hmm.
So if you can say, how do we connect those people? And and even then inside the organization. But if I start telling people, hey, yeah, in Indiana there's 1,200 kids sex trafficked daily, and each kid is forced to do 20 to 30 tricks a day. The
Hmm.
vast majority of people have no file for that. And so they're like, wait, what? And then there's Texas, there's 37,000. Then you have the Tim Tebow Foundation that is tracking 100,000 kids that have disappeared across the U.S.
Right.
over the past
He's
X
such an
amount of years.
amazing guy.
It's unreal. So then you say, okay, one of the organizations we work with here in Indy is called Ascent 121 that deals with 10% of that kid population. And I'm so proud of the work they do. Another group called Hope Center Indy helps women coming out of sex trafficking. Another great program. They have anything from an overnight stay to a 3-year program. It's amazing. But then you have another group out of Kansas City called The Battle Within. That actually it's crazy. They do a lot of like what we do at the Outpost, but they go from Monday morning to Saturday at noon, and they're dealing with first responders and vets who are dealing with severe PTSD. And then you have Canines for Warriors out of Florida that are their tagline is saving both ends of the saving lives at both ends of the leash. Sorry, I about butchered that. And there's so many people doing so much good out there in the world. It really is easy to look at media, look at everything that's being fed to you and go, oh my goodness, just bend over and kiss your butt goodbye. And no, there's
So,
really people doing good work out there. Even going back to your comment about Virgin,
right,
there are good people doing good things in that. And it's
right.
really how are you approaching? I mean, it'd be one thing if I'm like, hey, this is great. Go here and jump in this big old hot tub. It's actually a bowl of boiling acid.
Right,
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying is that the heart of where we're at is one thing I love about what you're doing with cruise planners. You're helping people find more life.
right.
Maybe have an experience
And
they never did.
it's so important that, as a entrepreneur and one of the things that I want to wrap up the show with is your story about Alaska. So, you know, as entrepreneurs, we have gone through a journey of either being working for the man, or something like what we have described that inspired us, or both. But you have had an engagement, of sorts in life with confined things, and that's the way I'll put it. Because this confined thing comes out of the sky, and you happen to be in the right position, or you were positioned, right? Because unbeknownst to us, we're all we're all positioned. You were positioned, and you were there to do something so extraordinary. So tell us about what happened in Alaska.
So, in August 21st of 2014, it was last year I went to Alaska. I didn't even want to go back to Alaska that year. I was working on a job site, Fort Riley, Kansas. We were redoing a hospital, the Irwin Army Hospital, um, less than 30 minutes from my house. It was great. I'm leading a small group at my house. Got a great relationship with my oldest son at the time, who was not quite 15. He was 14. And all of a sudden, I get this phone call to go back up on the pipeline to Alaska. And it was really tough. I had to, and I'm prefacing the story because I didn't want to go back that year. That
Mm,
year, I had to lay down I did something I've never done before. This is the part that sounds weird. I laid all my finances out on my living room floor, and I laid face down with my hands and legs out, and I prayed every day for 2 weeks. God, am I wanting to go back to Alaska because I'm afraid of not being able to what you give me financially here because I made good money in Alaska? Or are you calling me to go back to Alaska? It took me 2 weeks to really pray and realize, okay, God, you're wanting me to go back to Alaska. So I went back, and the crew I was on was not the normal crew. Every year, my crew changed, and that was fine. And so as the summer went on, we were all up and down. The Alaska pipeline's 800 miles long. One of the best postcards I ever got while I was working in Alaska. I came home one time for my break, and I got a postcard from Alaska. I'm like, and my parents had taken the cruise to Alaska and thought it'd be funny to send me a postcard, and just happened to get home when I was on my R&R in the middle of summer. So it was really funny. Um, so I'm sitting there, and I go home for my R&R. I'm telling everybody, this is amazing. I didn't want to go back. God is showing up over and over again. I'm making more money than I made. I come home, my son and I are highly engaged. Everything is going great. I go back to Alaska. Before I left, I had everything lined up, everything planned. And the last minute, they said, okay, all those plans have changed. You got to go back up north before the snow falls, up in the Arctic Circle, up in Adigan Pass. If you ever watch the Ice Road Truckers, it's the
Yep.
Adigan Pass is the big baddie that that's another thing. My infamy with the Ice Road Truckers, that's another long story. And Juan can tell you, I've got lots of long stories. So we go up there. We're in these mountains, and we're doing the ice bucket challenge. That dates you how old it is, the ALS ice bucket challenge. And the I pour this bucket down. My buddy calls me out on Facebook. It's like, oh no, you can't do. It's just normal. We're just living life, going where God leads us. When we would go to Alaska, you're gone 6 to 8 weeks at a time. The longest I ever worked straight was 77 days straight. And because there's a sacrifice that goes with that. But
Hmm.
we're up there, and all of a sudden, on August 21st, 2014, this plane crashes in front of me and my crew up at Adigan Pass.
Wow.
And we're literally, it took us, I tell people it happened around 1 p.m. that day. We just finished lunch. I had just finished my second ice bucket challenge because my buddy Corey Mundy out of Boise, Idaho, shout out to Corey Mundy, had called me out on Facebook that I'd screamed like a little girl when I got doused with water. It's true, I did. It was
What
cold.
size of the plane? What kind of plane are we talking about here?
So we're talking about a 1946 Navient Air Force trainer. It's a Navient. It's a four-seater. The cockpit slides back. This is um, and again, there was a court case that came afterwards, and so all that's been settled in 2019. So I quit working in Alaska in 2014, and I flew back twice to Alaska to testify in federal court. So, um, but this
But
plane crashed right.
you were responsible for basically helping save these individuals. In essence, you're crucial to all that.
It's thank you for saying that because it was that moment of I was the foreman, I was the guy in charge, I knew my authority, I knew my responsibility. This plane it just crashed. We're not first responders, we're pipe fitters and pipeline workers. But here comes the humanity part of it aspect. This plane
Mhm.
crashes. I go down, I slide down this plane. Again, it's a long story. It's an incredibly big God story. And we get down there, and immediately it's on the side of the plane. The people in the back are hurting. There's fuel coming out of the wing on the right side. We're in Alaska, up in the mountains. All we needed was like a pack of wolves, and it would have been like a great
Mhm.
movie scenario. But I look at the guys and I'm like, okay, we're pulling them. And everyone in my crew got this look on their face like what? We need you pulling them. I'm like, we got to pull them. I just called Pump Station 4 security, said, hey, we just had this plane wreck. We need to pull them because this is even though there was traffic, I mean, Alaska's, if you cut Alaska in half, it makes Texas the third largest state because you'd have two
Mhm.
Alaskas in front of Texas. That's how big Alaska is. So we're on the plane, and I said, "Hey," one of the ladies in the back seat, her name was Marcine. She was praying, and I said, "Ma'am, keep praying. He is hearing every word you said because you literally just
Wow.
crashed in front of us. Out of all the places you could go, you crashed right in front of us." And immediately, there was a sense of we are right where we're supposed to be, right here,
I
right
love
now,
that.
and we're not first responders. And what happened? So it took us 15 minutes to get on them. It took us 3.5 hours to pull everyone out of the plane and negotiate them down the side of this mountain. And then no one got injured, no one got hurt. Um, the testimonies from those moments, um, everyone, the three passengers that were in the plane, all praised God for what happened. It could have gone 100 different directions. It didn't. Um, the pilot had made a couple calls that weren't the best, but he also made a call that was good that saved them all. Um, because of just the way he that's neither here nor there. He shouldn't have navigated the canyon that low. Um, but God was there. And so that morning when we were driving there, I'm going to back up even further. That morning, that Sunday, it was a Sunday morning, and I'm driving, and I have my buddy Steve Hayden. He was my teamster, was with me, and we're driving, and he said, "Hey, preacher, today's Sunday. Are you going to stand on the side of a mountain like Moses and preach this day?" I'm like, that's not how it works, Steve. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So by the end
Well,
of the day,
I, I'd say with you, my friend, I'd say that there is a sense, and as far as I've known you, and there is this essence. So I'm gonna cut you off here as we wrap up, and I want to tell the viewers that first, we appreciate Matt Gleaves for being on and Confined Space Coffee. If you're not drinking Confined Space Coffee, I'm not just saying this because he's a sponsor and he's a good friend of mine. This is some damn good coffee, dude.
see,
Congratulations. This is really, really amazing stuff.
thank you.
This is not the last you're gonna see of Matt. We're gonna have Matt on again sometime later on this season, which we're officially kicking off season 3, by the way, with this
Whoop,
episode.
whoop.
Um, and this will be live wherever you stream your podcasts. My shout out to my good friend and producer Travis Bizzell, who does an amazing job. He's been with us since day one. So thankful to have someone, someone who's a, a, a guy who I met in an unorthodox way at church, doing jobs that we both were overqualified for. But as a volunteer, you do those things, right? But I think what happened and what I love about your story, Matt, with the plane crash is you don't call it a rescue because I think so many elements happened there. Not only were they rescued, but I think you were rescued, my friend. I think your heart was ransomed that day, and you couldn't be, in my opinion, the leader that you are, not only in Outposts, not only in your corporate engagements, not only now with Confined Space Coffee, and hopefully with your own show, your own podcast soon. Um, did I let it out of the bag?
No, that's news to me. But
Well,
let me just say, it was also the first day I ever felt like I heard God, because I'm looking around. I know I didn't want to go back. I know I've been brought back. I know I was there for a reason. And it was the first time I ever felt like God said, "If you ever doubted that I'm real, don't. I'm real and I have a plan." And you're absolutely right. That was the first day I'm like, "Okay, I'm in. I'm in. Wherever you want me to go, whatever you want me to do." It's been a crazy ride ever since.
it is. It is. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again for the viewers. Shout out to uh, the hat that I'm wearing is Taino.golf. I met them in Florida. Really amazing company. If you play golf, you're going to want to check out their merch. They've got a really cool Instagram page. And I'm kind of biased because they're Puerto Rican. They're doing amazing things in Florida this month. They have a tournament over by the PGA. I'm not a golf aficionado, but here I am wearing the gear, the hoodie, and the hat. But it's all good. I'll learn how to play golf one day. Our good friend Tony Chavis, who will be on next show, she is a talented Disney expert and a golf pro. She doesn't like to be called the golf pro though. Um, anyway, Matt, thank you so much. Any last parting words?
Thank you, Juan, for you. Thank you for our friendship and our brotherhood. You are loved. You are blessed. And I'm proud to call you my brother.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.
Cheers.
You've been listening to the Travel People Podcast, a production of Travis Bizzell and FMG Event Company, hosted by Juan Velasquez. All content heard on this program, including commentary, opinions, interviews, and sponsored messages, is intended for general information and entertainment purposes only. No statement made on this broadcast shall be interpreted as legal, financial, insurance, or travel advice. Travel suppliers, pricing, availability, and conditions are subject to change without notice and are governed by the terms and policies of the individual providers. Paid sponsorships on this program include Carolina Outdoor Clothing by Ernesto Hernandez and Confined Space Coffee by Matt Gleaves. Sponsorship does not imply endorsements of any claim, products, or services unless expressly stated by the Travel People Podcast. This broadcast, its recordings, and all associated content are intellectual property of the Travel People Podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, redistributed, or used without written permission. For episode transcripts, advertisement inquiries, or official correspondence, contact the Travel People LLC at gmail.com or call 803-280-4727, or you can mail P.O. Box 92, Fort Mill, South Carolina 29715. By listening to this program, you acknowledge and agree to these terms.